Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Clothes as a teenager was the first point that I was like, oh, I'm not the same, I'm fat. And I think it just spiraled from there. I just always felt like I wasn't, boys weren't ever going to find me attractive. And it even got to the point where I felt like people wouldn't really want to be friends with me because I wasn't like cool and, thin.
My name is Halina Rafai and this is the A Sonic Hug podcast. Over the coming months and episodes, you will hear the voices of people from different walks of life who deal, experience and battle mental health issues. I spoke to Sarah about body image for this podcast. She's the first woman other than myself in this series to focus on it. I've known Sarah for several years, having met her through a collective we were both part of. She has been a highlight for me in terms of a friendship and one of the only people in my life who truly understands what it's like to navigate life in these bodies of ours. This is Sarah's story.
I'm Sarah Maxwell. I've struggled with body issues for nearly my whole life. As soon as the hormones kicked in. I've been bigger for, like I say, since I was probably about 11, started getting, bigger. Maybe even before that, actually. I think it's hard to age yourself sometimes when you go that far back. It just always made me feel not the same as everybody else, especially at such a young age when you can't maybe fit into the clothes that all your friends are wearing. I think it's maybe a bit different now because adult clothes and teenagers' clothes are kind of similar, but back in the early 90s, that wasn't the case. You wanted to go to Kylie or Tammy Girl and it got to a certain point where I couldn't get into those clothes when I was too young to start wearing, mum clothes, which was hard. And I think just from that point on, I knew that I wasn't the same as the other girls. Especially I was probably the only one in my friend group that was bigger. So that obviously translated into teenagers when they were sharing clothes. And I think clothes as a teenager was the first point that I was like, oh, I'm not the same, I'm fat. And I think it just spiraled from there. I just always felt like I wasn't, boys weren't ever going to find me attractive. And it even got to the point where I felt like people wouldn't really want to be friends with me because I wasn't cool and, thin. I think that probably stemmed from two of my friends when I was at primary school, just probably once I started getting bigger. They were my two best friends and then all of a sudden they just stopped wanting to be my friend, and then they told this other girl that they didn't want to be my friend because I was fat. And I think that just psychologically probably gave me a dunt from then on. I mean, and it's not like I went from that to having no friends. I had other friends and they were nice girls that didn't care about stuff like that, but you've still got that in the back of your mind. I think even now at 34, I probably still have that in the back of my mind a little bit. I remember at school when I was in high school, it was 6th year even, so it's not like we were children, and me and a friend of mine had a little fallout about something, and actually the same girl, not the girl I'd fallen out with, but the girl that sent the email was one of the same girls that stopped being my friend in primary school because I was fat. She sent out around an email to the whole of, I was in quite a small school, so the whole of 6th year was maybe 20 people, but it didn't specifically say me, but it was this email about how the excuses fat people made for being fat. But it was sent round to everybody, I think, apart from me. And the thing is, I did suffer, and I still do, I've got polycystic ovaries, so like my eating habits and my exercise habits didn't help, but I did also have a hormonal issue that did. But then I was just like, well, I can't use that as an excuse, because then that's what thin people think I'm using. And I feel like even after all these years, I still think about that, because it was really like, I think it was the closest to having been bullied that I've ever felt in my life. I still have that person on social media, and I can see that she has little girls now, and I'm just hoping that she's kind of doesn't have that mentality anymore, because that would be really upsetting and sad for those little girls. I still struggle with it a lot, not as much as I used to when I was younger, because I think just sometimes when you get a bit older you kind of start to care less what other people think. But yeah, even to as little of things as like if I'm sitting on the bus, I think, oh, no one will come and sit next to me because I'm too big, you know, that you're just like, oh, I'm the last person, nobody wants to sit next to me. And the thing is, I don't want people to sit next to me anyway, so I don't know why it bothers me so much. But then, because then when someone does sit next to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they've sat next to me. I suppose still just, I kind of feel unattractive. I suppose I don't really know how to get over that other than losing weight, you know, but I've lost weight before, and I lost quite a lot of weight, and that didn't actually make me any happier. But I don't know if that's because I was still in, it's more deep rooted than just losing weight, you know, like I could be a size 8 and I would still feel like the bigger girl, or I would just find another reason. It's not all to do with my weight, but before I lost weight that time, I thought that it was, and I thought that would solve all my problems, and yeah, it didn't, because I think once you've had it so deep rooted from when you were little, it's hard to get out of that notion. You're always going to be the bigger friend, and you know. And the thing is, I've always throughout my life had such good friends, so it's not like I was sitting in my room by myself without friends. But I just have this, I think I've had experience with bad friends over the years, and that's maybe, I did counselling once, and the woman said to me, I've got this thing where I can hear 9 good things about myself and 1 bad thing, and that's the only thing I'll hear, the only thing I'll remember. And I think that's pretty accurate. I'm really good at focusing on the negative, but I don't know how you really get out of that. Like I say, I think it's got better as I've got older, because I'm like, you get more sure of yourself, and I think you kind of whittle down those bad friends and you have the good ones left that love you for you and make you feel like you are good enough. It definitely makes me anxious a lot of the time, especially maybe when I was younger, like going out like with my friends, like dancing or to the pub or anywhere. I found make myself really ill just thinking about having to go, and I'd quite often have a nice time when I was there, but the thought of going when they were, because in my head I was like, they're all dressed up nice and pretty, like they're gorgeous and they're lovely and they're just with me. So I felt like probably, especially kind of uni time, like I did isolate myself some of the time. Like I would just be like, oh no, I'm not going to come out tonight because it was just too much for me. I just thought I was being silly. I didn't know that it was part of a mental health thing, you know. Like that's the early 2000s. It wasn't talked about as much, and it wasn't until I probably really, really upset, and this was only maybe about 6 years ago when I properly realised that actually maybe I needed a bit more help. And when I look back at it now, probably from a teenager, I was suffering from quite bad depression because I felt like I wasn't reaching the same milestones as my friends. And part of that was me, because I was like, well, nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to want to be with me, so I've just kind of resigned myself to being lonely. Many bouts of unrequited love made that as well, but I think it's made me lonely, as even when I've not been alone. Like I say, I have really lovely friends, and I've always had really lovely friends, but I think I didn't share with them how I was actually feeling. I think if you were to ask them a lot of the time, I would just have been sarcastic, funny Sarah, like the kind of classic self-deprecating, say it before someone else does kind of thing. I think I'm one of those people that's stupidly just grown up watching a lot of romantic comedies and like, I'm a sucker for things like that, and I still enjoy them. And I think, you know, I've never looked like any of those girls. The only one I remember watching when I was younger was a film called Baby Cakes that starred Ricki Lake. And she was obviously bigger back then. And then this man was with this really thin, beautiful, rich lady, but loved Ricki Lake, but he was embarrassed by her at first. And then, like, that's the only film I can think of. And TV shows, like, it was never really portrayed that someone my size would find Prince Charming, which isn't the be all and end all in life. And I think that's, like you say, when it gets easier when you're older and you realise that there's lots to life, and that's one part of it. But I think I still struggle a little bit. I think my mental health has maybe affected my friendships just because I'm quite needy with it. Like, because I assume that people wouldn't want to be my friend, I feel like I'm constantly needing reassurance. And I think maybe some people that have been my friends in the past couldn't deal with that. And I understand that, like, it's a lot. I don't think it's been like, oh, Sarah doesn't come out or anything like that, because I am quite a social person. I force myself into these, but when I was going through my really bad period, I think I lost quite a few friends then, just because I didn't know how to open up to them, know exactly how I was doing. And then one of them said something to me that made me like recoil back in. And then in some of those cases, some of those people I had been a really good friend to them through harder times, and they just weren't prepared to give me the same back. So in hindsight, it's probably not a bad thing that because I lost those friends, then I thought, well, why would anybody want to be my friend? And it wasn't until probably I started going to TYCI, and TYCI was a female collective in Glasgow, and they held public meetings. And just after my 30th birthday, I'd been going through a hard time, and I was like, I need to do something new. I'd followed them for a while and was really liked what they did, so I forced myself to go along, and met some really lovely women there, and they became my friends and are good cheerleaders, and they give you confidence, and all different people from different walks of life. They helped me realise that I didn't need to fit into a mould, and life isn't all about, just settling down or settling for something that you don't want. There's so many possibilities in life, and if I could make new friends, then I must not be terrible and people might want to be my friend. It was a really positive step in my life, and probably has a lot to do with how I'm a bit more accepting of myself now, and even my body as well. I did quite an extreme diet about 7 years ago. Lost over 7 stone quite quickly. If I'm being very honest, I did feel really confident after it for a little while, and then I realised that wasn't that was holding me back. Some of it is just I have mental health problems, but I realised it was my weight wasn't everything that was keeping me back. But at the same time, I did get more attention from people that maybe I wanted attention from when I lost weight. And in hindsight, I shouldn't want attention from someone that I knew when I was bigger, and then when I lost weight, then showed me attention, because they knew who I was before that. I should want someone that doesn't care. But, hindsight's a lovely thing. And there was more problems with that than just that, but it was extreme. And like I say, I got a lot of confidence for a little while. But I think part of my problem is I put my self-worth onto other people. If other people are behaving a certain way to me, they're being positive and I feel good. I'm better at it now. Like, I need to feel good in myself, that classic RuPaul thing, if you ain't going to love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else, or something like that. Like, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think for me, because I have all those doubts of how people would feel about me, unless I feel okay myself, I'm never going to accept it, that they could love me for me. It's a work in progress, I suppose. Like I say, I put a lot of that weight back on when I was really unwell. I just, I'm a classic emotional eater, eating to celebrate, to commiserate, to make myself feel better, and I went back on. And and some more. I mean, now I've lost a bit of weight and I'm feeling good, but this time I know that I'm doing it just because I want to feel healthier. I want to be able to, if a friend phones and says, do you want to go a hill walk? I want to be able to be fit enough to do it. I was recently in New York. I wanted to be fit enough that I could walk around New York. I didn't want to be panting as I was walking up subway steps, so I'm losing weight for a different reason this time. I'm not being extreme about it. I'm not wanting to be super thin. I just want to feel healthier in myself. I think nowadays there's a lot more to look to when I'm feeling rubbish. There's a lot more kind of role models out there that can bring you back out of that. Like the visibility of fat people and owning the word fat is amazing. We're nowhere near there, but it's so much better. And I just think if I had that when I was younger, if I had a Rebel Wilson on screen, or I could listen to Lizzo. If I'd looked on the shops and Tess Halliday had been on the front of Cosmopolitan, I would have felt a lot more oh my God, look, I could be a model, I could be a musician, I could be on TV. I think it's really great. I think we've still got a long way to come in the sense for high street shops. I think it's still ridiculous that you get a tiny corner in a shop for someone that's bigger than a size 18. I think some shops that don't do the sizes in a size 16's an XL in some shops, I think that's really damaging, because it's not it's not an XL by any stretch of the imagination. Because I think especially when you're younger, clothes play such a big role in your life and in being accepted or showing your personality. And I think sometimes when you're bigger, you don't have the choice. You just have to wear what you can fit into. And also, I still don't understand why a lot of it's online, because speaking from a bigger person, I think I'm more likely to want to try something on because I don't know if it'll fit. Like I say, there's a lot of positive things and it's good. But then you get things like Love Island starting and their plus size person is definitely not a plus size person. I don't know if even at school, if there was something, some kind of body positivity being taught in school, and I think it's still a very generational thing that you see a bigger person and you're taught to assume that they're unhealthy, or they're slobs, they don't do anything, they're lazy. And I think if you taught in school, or you at least acknowledged in school that everybody comes in different shapes and sizes, you don't need to be a size 12 to be healthy. I went to the doctors not that long ago and they asked me about my weight, and I was like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. And they're like, well, people come in different shapes. And that was a doctor, which I thought was really positive, and it was a young doctor. So, but I know other people that have been to doctors, and if you go with a problem, they just dismiss it as your weight, and that's a problem as well, because are people getting the best healthcare because they're not getting looked at any further than, oh, it's just your weight? And should it be dependent on what doctor you go to? It's just crazy how people, especially people that have never had body issues or weight issues, they don't understand, and then they'll say flippant things and you're like, what? It's actually really can affect someone's whole life. But yeah, it's not as just easy as, oh, just eat less and exercise more. Mentally, I'm getting there. My mental health's actually pretty good. Most of the time I'm pretty, level, and I feel positive about things. But every now and again you have a bad day. Just you have to realise with mental health that it's a kind of forever thing, and you just have to manage it the best you can. But I'm in a good place compared to where I've been. I'm feeling, like I say, I've lost a little bit of weight, and I'm feeling physically healthier. And I think sometimes once you can get out and about and you feel it does really help your mental health. Like I say, I've just been away and I have good friends and I have a support system. I have a good family. I'm in a good place, but I think probably the thing that I'm still is my body issues are the thing that I'm trying to overcome. I think because it's just been there for such a long time, it's just the hardest hurdle to get over. I do worry about looking back in my life and wondering why I wasted so much time feeling like this and being insecure about my body rather than just living my life. I think even now I'm starting to feel a bit like that because, I don't know, I think just once you start getting a bit older, you're just like, oh my God, like life, you don't get another go. And when you're younger, I think you're like, oh, I've got ages, my life's not even started yet. But yeah, now I do already kind of look back that I'm like, what, you shouldn't, why did you sit in and worry about that? Why didn't you just go out like it's other people's problem if they've got a problem with it? But, you know, you can't change that now and you can just try your best to live from now on. And I do try, and I have been trying, I think, for a few years, but it's still hard.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
That was Sarah's story. Sarah is the most placid person you are likely to meet, and to hear of her battles with body image, confidence and self-love breaks my heart. She identifies how important it is as a child to feel accepted and part of a group or crowd. Even if you have a devoted family unit, there is still that world outside of your home that you can't be protected from, but you can be accepted, educated and loved. Her mention of clothes, not only at the beginning of her school life and how important they were for identity, is something I identify with, but also in later life and how they still have a stigma attached when it comes to trying to find something you are desperately wanting to express yourself in. For many children, there is a want to dress like your tribe and feel relevant. And as adults, many of us want to create an identity and just feel good about ourselves. As Sarah says, when you're sectioned to the back of a shop in a small corner or something not catered for at all, this rouses a deep sense of shame. A shame that you shouldn't be the size you are and perhaps don't deserve something that others have access to. When Sarah talks about how she was effectively bullied by another child who claimed she should not have friends because she was fat is something that many of us go through. The often frustrating and devastating thing about being fat is that it can plague you in your whole life, and bullying can continue to adulthood. Sarah's admission of feeling lonely even when she is not alone is something that carries on from this. But we can then realise in later life that there is a group for us. Sarah discovered this, and it's encouraging to hear that she took so many positives from that. It's about taking those steps, dealing with those nerves and making the initial contact with people who you think you identify with. When Sarah talks about self-deprecation and how she would be the sarcastic, funny friend is something that again many of us can relate to. We feel we have to jump in and destroy ourselves first before another person gets that opportunity. The fact that previous experiences have dictated us to expect that creates heightened paranoia and mistrust issues. That catastrophization leads to really poor mental health. When Sarah talks about losing friends because of her mental health, this is explained by her inability to open up about how she is feeling. We see this time and time again. We are unable to open up about our insecurities and how deeply unhappy we may be, even sometimes in circles which may seem able to deal with it. There is a barrier that stops us. Is it our own shame, our fear that people will not be able to cope with what we tell them, a judgment? It could be all of these, but one circle which feels safe for one may cause hardship and ostracisation for another. Sarah talks about losing a large amount of weight and how it didn't lead to a greener field of grass on the other side. I suppose it could be argued that having those lived experiences show us that we are indeed enough as ourselves. Visibility is a key factor, and as Sarah talks about celebrities and role models who have looked like her and she feels she identifies with, it's that key argument that comes up across different areas of society and not just that which concerns body image. Who is it that decides what we should look like? Who decides who we should be? Those gatekeepers need to change. At the end of the day, we all deserve love. Sarah is loved by many. Her generosity, her devotion to those around her, and her deeply caring nature are the things which matter. She is also a beautiful woman. The love that we deserve may come in different forms, but we need that extended from within our close circles to our schools, our society, and beyond. As Sarah says, you don't get another go at life, and I hope she makes hers from now on a powerful and kind one, because she is both of those things. If you have experienced or experiencing anything described in this episode, you will find support information in the text with this podcast. A Sonic Hug podcast is recorded, produced and edited by me, Halina Rafai. We are also part of Scotland's podcasting network, The Big Light. Until next time, deep breaths.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.